Hey everyone, PushingUpRoses here, and today I'm going back to my roots and covering a King's Quest game. You may be thinking, but Roses, didn't you cover all of the King's Quest games? No, I never got around to the first game, at least not the parser command version for the computer. I did discuss the one for the Master System, and I've referenced it many times over the years on this channel, so it feels like I've covered it a million times over. I've decided that today is finally the day to discuss this game officially in all of its glory, because yes, this is a defense of King's Quest I, one of the most influential video games of all time. On top of my normal review style and commentary, I'd also like to discuss how designer Roberta Williams came up with the concept and why this game is just so damn hard. As of right now, I have not written the conclusion to this video yet, but I am predicting some introspection and gushing. Stay tuned to see if my prediction about myself is right. King's Quest was developed by Ken and aforementioned Roberta Williams, who are now considered pioneers in the gaming world. Their company, Sierra Online, has created some of the most memorable and technologically advanced computer games in the mid-80s into the mid-90s, the King's Quest series being just one of the many franchises the company produced. Prior to King's Quest, Ken and Roberta worked on a few other parser-driven command games like Mystery House, a monochrome command game with cute little scribblies as characters, and Wizard and the Princess, which also has cute little scribblies as characters. Cute snake. In 1982, Ken and Roberta were approached by IBM and asked to develop a launch title for their new computer, the PC Junior. It was announced in PC Magazine, and it boasted a lot of things. Smooth animation, high quality sound, amazing game selection. Then the PC Junior flopped. Because of this, King's Quest didn't sell very well. Or maybe it was because of this god-awful box cover. This is not what the main character looks like, and you certainly don't get a sword. Regardless, after some touch-ups, minor changes, and releasing the game on different terminals, notably the Tandy 1000, it became a huge success. The subtitle, Quest for the Crown, was added for the 1987 re-release, which is the version I will be looking at. The first thing I would like to point out are these flags waving in the wind. Ah yes, you wouldn't think this is anything special, but it is. Yes, it is. In fact, this is the first screen you see in-game, and that's important because this is the first adventure game to really have animations. At least, mainstream-wise, it is considered the first. I know these things are hard to determine, but a lot of sources point to King's Quest as one of the first, if not the first adventure game to do it. Prior to this, you would have static settings, usually in a first-person view, like you see here in Wizard and the Princess. This simple animation happening at the same time your character is exploring is an innovation, something we take for granted today, but very much worth remembering. And look at this main character! Look at him! Brave Sir Graham in his cyan hat, his weird pink shirt, maybe it's salmon, and these supposed boots, walking, swimming, falling, falling again, getting squashed by a rock. This was essentially an open world title where you control your character, give him commands, and watch him flounder about as you traverse a sizable map. The plot is quite simple. You are Sir Graham, brave knight under the ruling of King Edward the Benevolent. The kingdom of Daventry has become impoverished after 3 magical items were stolen by some greedy inhabitants. A magic chest, swiped by a cloud-dwelling giant, a magic mirror, taken by a fire-breathing dragon, and a magic shield, purloined by a community of leprechauns that have been overwhelmed with an interesting case of dance hysteria. Sir Graham is tasked with finding these items, bringing them back, and if they make it back safely, he's promised the kingdom. Rescuing the treasures will not be easy, as there is a series of inventory object puzzles to complete before you can even try, and yes, they are hard, and yes, you can find yourself in an unwinnable situation by doing the wrong thing. The game does not alert you when you make a mistake. To win, you must use the trial by error method, or you can do what most people do, cheat. This is where a lot of modern criticism for the game stems from. The technical and artistic achievement is pretty well respected. Ken and Roberta Williams were even honored with an Industry Icon Award in 2014, Ken being the programmer and Roberta being the writer and designer for many of their titles. However, present-day critics have lambasted Roberta's unforgiving puzzle design and frustrating dead ends. To understand her motivations, I read up on how she began conceptualizing games and why the puzzle design ended up the way it did. In the book Hackers, Heroes of the Computer Revolution by Stephen Levy, Roberta is described as a very shy, timid type who was often afraid to put herself out there. She had an adoration for fantasy, and as a child would dream of grand adventures like getting kidnapped by pirates or being whisked away to a far-off land. She states that she never really liked herself, and to cope with that, she'd often dream of being someone else. Her younger brother suffered from from epilepsy, and she would tell him whimsical stories to delight him. It sounded like she took great pleasure in storytelling, but because she was so passive, her drive petered out soon after marrying Ken. The stress of adulthood, commitment, and becoming pregnant almost immediately after their ceremony halted her creativity. According to her, it got to the point where she was so unassertive that she relied on Ken to provide a living because she, quote, could hardly make a phone call. That all changed when Ken brought home a terminal, connected it to an IBM mainframe, and booted up a new game. Despite her husband's fascination with computers, Roberta never liked them and found them intimidating. But with some coaxing, Ken got her to sit at the terminal and try Adventure, a text-based game written by Don Woods and William Crowther. To say she was captivated would be an understatement. Roberta fell in love with the complexity of the game, and she would spend months drawing up maps and coming up with new methods to complete the game's more difficult puzzles. She didn't find it frustrating, more so inspiring. Instead of saying something like, "Ugh, how many more things can I try to beat this damn puzzle?" she would say, "I wonder how many more things I can try to beat this puzzle."
I really got into it. I just loved the idea of an interactive story. And just had to play this game. I was just really drawn into it and had to finish it.
She wanted to see everything a game had to offer, exhausting every option to get to the solutions, and when she finished it, she yearned for more titles like it. Her early games, Mystery House and Wizard and the Princess, were definitely inspired by her love of difficult puzzle games, and I feel that love is even more apparent in King's Quest. Some people think that because the game is so punishing, it must be because it was designed poorly or haphazardly, when in reality, everything was implemented by choice, so Roberta could share her excitement of those wildly infuriating text-based games like Adventure, Zork, and The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. She was fond of the challenge, and she made damn sure to put that aspect into her games. The storytelling drought had ended, and she put her knowledge of high fantasy into King's Quest with a variety of magic, fairy tales, and mythical creatures. Let us follow Sir Graham on his journey to become king. What kind of adventures await us? Oh fuck. One cannot deny the intensity, maybe even utter bullshit, of some of these puzzles. You can make wrong decisions, you can do things out of order that prevent you from winning, you can die by messing up your footing while climbing. It's not merciful. And yet, when I booted this game up, knowing that I would likely mess up even after playing it all my life, I was hit with this intense feeling, this desire to explore this world thoroughly. I wanted to read every text box, every description, and yes, I even wanted to see how many absurd ways I could die. The game looks outdated by today's standards, but I could still feel the atmosphere and whimsical setting that Roberta was going for. Even the descriptions are written eloquently, sometimes even poetically, to match the tone of the fairy tales that inspired it. I mean, sure, the proportions are a little off. Pretty sure this clay bowl could second as a toboggan, and there aren't many characters to interact with save this woodcutter and his wife, but I still felt something exciting. I still felt like I was on a grand adventure. While we're in this little shack, let me show you exactly how easy it is to die. I think the woodcutter is hiding a portal to hell in his house or something. I fell far. And he and his wife didn't even seem to notice. Honey, did you hear something stirring in our hell chasm? Nope, just the screams of the tortured. Everything's fine. I should also mention the now infamous Rumpelstiltskin puzzle, which definitely drives home Roberta's intentions. During your journey, you come across a wily character living in a tent by the river. He says if you can guess his name in 3 tries, he will reward you. If you're familiar with fairy tale lore, you could probably guess that this is based on Rumpelstiltskin, where a woman has 3 days to guess his name. However, the answer is not Rumpelstiltskin. Oh no, that would be too easy. If you found the witch's candy house prior to this, you'll have found a note that says, sometimes it's wise to think backwards. Okay, cool, I'll type it backwards. And no, that's not what the game wants me to do either. It wants you to use the backwards alphabet, so it becomes this, and the letters in Rumpelstiltskin become these. And as you can see, in my playthrough, I spelled his name wrong, but I'm assuming it's just spelled like this in-game on purpose. In the novelization, it's also spelled this way instead of this way. I know a lot of people are going to respond with, but how would you ever guess that? And I'm gonna be honest, I think with the hint of being close with the first guess would have led me to consider the backwards alphabet. There just aren't that many options, and I think when I was younger I did eventually get there, which was exactly what Roberta wanted. She wanted me to think of every conceivable way, and to be honest, this one, though notorious, is not as bad as it seems. I do recall using the backwards alphabet as a secret code with my friends, so perhaps that's part part of how I got there. It does seem like a middle finger to the player, but I don't think it's totally impossible to get to this conclusion. There's kind of a method to the madness. This isn't to say you can't make some horrible mistakes that seem like the right answer. For example, this fire-breathing dragon seems dangerous, and hey, you found a dagger buried under a rock earlier, so maybe you just need to kill it. No! Look what you've done! Oh my god, the humanity, the bloodshed! How could you have done this? You are a bad person and you should feel bad. Anyway, no, all you have to do is throw some water at him, it'll put out the flames, and he'll become so embarrassed that he'll run away to sulk. As an aside, I always thought this dragon ran away to Ooga Booga Land in King's Quest VII. You know, the one who lost its spark and we have to find him some fire to bring it back. So Graham messed up this dragon in the past, then as Rosella, Graham's daughter, we fixed him again, and it only took 16 years. This is now official King's Quest canon. Also, is it just me or is this dragon very tiny?
It's small, but it's fierce!
So yes, the game does try to guide you to take the high roads. Graham has always been portrayed as having morals and not wanting to resort to violence to solve a problem. Instead of killing the dragon, you embarrass it. Instead of killing the giant with a sling and a rock, you tire him out by making him chase you. Instead of killing the witch... Oh, actually, you kill the witch. But in our defense, she is actively murdering people and cooking them in a stew. The dragon and giant were just kind of minding their own business, but that witch was a serial killer. It's not said in this introduction, but since the game's 4th release, a backstory was added to the lore involving this witch. Her name is Dahlia, who previously disguised herself as a princess in an attempt to woo King Edward. On their wedding night, she revealed herself as an evil witch, stole 3 treasures from him, and hid them throughout the land. This is different from the original King's Quest, which states the king had simply heard there were 3 magical items somewhere in Daventry and he just wants them, making him look like a selfish asshole. I like the addition of the witch because otherwise, it just seems like you're stealing from people for no reason. I pretty much ruined this leprechaun kingdom by taking back the shield, so I was pleased to hear there's some of Dahlia's pawns. On top of finding those treasures, the king wants Dahlia destroyed, which is why you can push her into the oven and get points for it, versus losing points for killing the other characters. And if you're interested in even more of the lore, the King's Quest Companion has an entire novelization. In fact, if you read it before playing any of the games, you might have a better idea of what to do. It really spells everything out for you. Also, the maps are so cool! My favorite puzzle involves this very good goat who makes very good noises. The solution to this is partially intuitive and partially accidental. I found a carrot and decided to offer it to the goat. That seemed like a logical decision. He liked it so much he became my friend and wouldn't leave my side. Cute! So I ended up taking him with me, just me and my goat having a grand adventure until I came across this bridge guarded by a troll. To my surprise, the goat butts him off the bridge, allowing me to continue my exploration and opening up new locations on the map. This is awesome! But the best part of this puzzle is the text box that says, "It is a known fact that goats hate trolls." A known fact! Well, I had no idea. So if you're playing D&D and you're in the middle of being attacked by a bunch of nasty trolls, just go find a goat. Known fact. Hey everyone, Roses from the editing room here, and I just want to say that I had somehow forgotten that this is a very obvious reference to the Three Billy Goats Gruff fairy tale, and I have no idea how I forgot that. I was in a Billy Goats Gruff play in kindergarten. I still figured this out somewhat accidentally because I found the goat before the troll, but still, fairy tale fail. I do love this goat though. He's a good boy. That all being said, even though I understand the intentions of Roberta Williams and personally enjoy this game now as much as I did when I first played it, I understand why it's not connecting with people in the present. I think people who find this game too frustrating typically still acknowledge the game's place in history and what it meant to computer users, because at the time, this was a fun and exciting game that did challenge fantasy fans and fulfill people's desires for replayability. But players grow up, the gaming industry evolves, our tastes change, and even I don't think I desire another series in the vein of Sierra logic. I like how things matured. Sierra shined for a long time, then LucasArts came in and challenged that unforgiving puzzle design. They evolved how we play adventure games even further, with well thought out puzzles and different UIs, and in modern times we get such a diverse selection of indie adventure games, with difficulty levels that vary. I adore a lot of the newer indie adventure games that were released in the last 10 years or so, and we got to this point because developers did want to try new things, and make games that a new generation of people could enjoy. But Sierra games, particularly the King's Quest games, will always have a place in my heart. It was my introduction to gaming, it sparked my love for the fantasy genre, and it became one of my favorite talking points on this channel. The entire series, sans Mask of Eternity because we do not speak of such things here, has gotten me through some really tough times. It distracted me from a hard childhood, helped me with grieving the death of my father, and helped when I was just simply lonely and looking for an escape. This game is like an old, familiar friend. Not like one of those weird Facebook friendships, like an acquaintance you remember from high school and you added them because you were curious about how they turned out and if you're more successful than them and shit. And then you kind of remember why you weren't friends with them in the first place, so you're like, unfriend. Definitely not that kind of friend. King's Quest is reliable and comforting, and sometimes it pisses you off, but you love it anyway. Like my parrot. King's Quest is like my parrot. Now that I have taken this analogy way too far, I will conclude this video by repeating some of the wisest words ever spoken. Remember, save early and save often. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching my video on King's Quest. I hope you enjoyed this visit back into adventure gaming. If you want to see more of what my channel has to offer, I have such sights to show you. But first I would like to shove Patreon in your face for the umpteenth time. No joke, it has helped me sustain my channel, up my quality, and survive just as a person. If you want to support my videos, please give it some consideration, and if not, a like and a share is also appreciated. If you can't decide on whether subbing to my channel is a good idea or not, then why not give these videos a watch to help that? On the left, we have a Murder, She Wrote review, which is from one of my more popular series, and on the right, I have a review of one of the Nancy Drew adventure games. Thanks again, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.